2025 meeting. Would you all rise? Pledge the flag. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Seated. All right, welcome. Do I have a motion to, I guess before we start, Dave is at?
He's at Albright College for a county dinner. He's getting educated on a lot of topics.
Center for Excellence in Local Government.
Correct. All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for February 13th regular meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, do I have public comment for agenda items only? First row? Second row? Third row? Fourth row? Fifth row?
I have a comment. Specifically having to do with, under the it's engineering and zoning. We've got a Chestnut Street drainage project down there. And for the record, I support the township maintaining and upgrading the stormwater management of our township and the facilities of this township, which also includes, as long as it's township-owned property.
Right.
And that also includes along East Westner Road, we have a little creek. And there's a lot of erosion on that I've brought up before. In the last meeting, you cut me off before I was able to fully make my public comment about that. So according to your township website, it says specifically that regarding stormwater, that says the Township Board of Supervisors is working to meet each new challenge, focusing on improving stormwater management and other things. So to be consistent with that, I think it's important for this township to consider all stormwater facilities that the township is responsible for and that the township owns.
Thank you.
I just have one question. At 1204 284 West Lawrence Street. In reference to the $50,000 for engineering, the cost, is the township, are we to be under the assumption that this is going to be built, or is this money allocated to see the actual cost factor?
So this is, we'll elaborate more on it when we get down to it, but that is the initial phases for studying, so I guess coming up with plans, rough preliminary plans. I'll elaborate, I guess, when we get there.
Okay,
but
that's fine.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else in the last row? All right. I'm gonna go to Northern Berks Regional Police Report. So at Monday's meeting, they went over calls for service was, for Maiden Creek was 351. There were 54 citations given out in Maiden Creek. There were 64 traffic warnings in Maiden Creek. There were 68 vehicle contacts in Maiden Creek. There were 4 arrests issued in Maiden Creek. There was 17 vehicle crashes. 4 of them were reportable, 9 were non-reportable, and 4 were hit and runs. And there was 34 day hours of service in Maiden Creek Township and 4,389 total mileage. And at Monday's meeting, I don't remember the topic, we addressed the vehicle. So there was, that's what it was, my brain was going a mile a minute there. There was 2 accidents. I don't know if you guys are aware or if you saw on Facebook, I think is where they were posted. There was a collision at 73 and Park Road with one of our officers. That vehicle was totaled. Luckily, it was, I believe, the oldest one in our fleet. Not luckily, but at least it wasn't that. And then we had a second one, hit and run, out here on 222 near Drees Road, where one of our corporals was assisting a disabled vehicle. When he got back in his vehicle to do his report, he was rear-ended at a high rate of speed and the driver fled. I believe I saw today before I came to the meeting that the person has been apprehended and the vehicle was impounded immediately. They found it later on in Muhlenberg Township. So Corporal is okay. He had whiplash and slight concussion, but all is okay. And now Northern Berks is dealing with insurance companies and figuring out what we're gonna do with these cruisers. So that was the I'm gonna say excited, but not really excited. All right.
I have a question on that.
Sure.
Yeah, again, Charles Boris, 284 West Walnut Street. In reference to Northern Berks, going on their website, and maybe you could verify this, pull up some information. Is it in fact that there is only one officer that handles Maiden Creek Township in a 24-hour cycle?
No, I don't think it's one. I'm not sure exactly. I think there's usually two.
Typically two.
Yeah, there's usually two.
One
Yeah.
shift.
Two in a 24-hour cycle.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
But there's officers in other areas that can,
Saying that, I'm saying for Maiden Creek Township, that it was only one officer in a 24-hour cycle, depending on how they break up their hourly, which that concerned me that if you only have one officer surrounding this, now again, you can pull from others, with the traffic and the situation that we have going on here, along with the Jake breaks and things, I would think that maybe we could address that and find a way to get maybe two officers adequately in Maiden Creek instead of pulling from another area.
I believe they typically are.
It's typically two.
I know definitely in the daytime.
I will double check with that because I think the website probably hasn't been kept up with, because I think at one point we were short staffed and we've since then kind of balanced that.
Yeah, I understood that. You need
Yeah.
officers and stuff like that. And that's what concerned me if you're looking at one for this area, which is large, along with, was there any update on what's going on with these break-ins?
I wouldn't say no, not really. No. So the problem is I think we have a general idea, possibly. The other thing is that these people that are going around doing that are completely masked. So that's part of the problem. I think the knowledge is out there and they're just kind of waiting for the.
That's fine. I was just wondering if they had any update that they have suspicion or suspect.
Yeah, I haven't heard any of that at that point, but
Okay.
the pressure that was put out on social media definitely has helped, and they have been getting to. So, and in fact, that tip is also would help apprehend the hit and run also too. So people have been calling in, and you know, I like to stress that too as one of the commissioners that people need to do that. If it happens, call it in the right way.
Right.
So,
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
yep. All right. Engineering reports.
All right, well, I renumbered my reports, so I'm gonna go in the order of the agenda. So reaffirm the approval of Gloria Gerhard subdivision plan. If you recall, this was an estate
Yep.
plan, and apparently they didn't get signatures in time, so this is that 90-day clock at the recorder deed, so it's an easy reaffirmation of the subdivision plan.
Okay, do I have a motion to reaffirm the approval of the Gloria Gerhard subdivision plan?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. This is a plan scale, a waiver request for the Joe Jazz Land Development Plan. Why the Planning Commission considered it is the areas that we're focused on are at 1 inch equals 20, but the overall plan is at 1 inch equals 80, and we were just fine with that. So from the Planning Commission, they support this waiver request for this plan scale.
Okay, so do I have a motion to waive section 190-14A plan scale to allow 1 inch equals 80 for Joe Jazz Land Development Plan?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
All right, I worked with Keith, there he is. We met with Keith, and it's just the balance of East Western between Park Road and the railroad crossing, and the balance of Golden between the paving joint near the one farmhouse and back to the railroad. So those would be the two roads that are on the 2025 road project. So I'm looking for authorization to advertise. And my understanding from Keith is we're going to do an alternate. We're going to do the ultra thin overlay, which is like 3/4 inch, which is maintenance. But then we want an alternate for a regular overlay.
Correct.
So we have to go through Charlie Pears because that's not considered maintenance, so we could use liquid fuel. So we'll just make sure we're doing it the right way. So I have an email already into Charlie to start that project so that we're covered.
Okay.
And then if there's any base repair or something comes up, we can add that into that project that's covered. So I'm looking for an authorization to advertise the 2025 road project for East Westner and Golden.
All right, do I have a motion to authorize the advertisement of the 2025 road project?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we get to the $50,000 for the engineering design that Mr. Matthew, we're going to expand on, so I'll turn it over to you to expand on that before the motion is made, if so.
Yeah, so we're looking at our options with the building renovations here, doing cost on what it would cost to do. So this is monies that would come out of the bond. So part of that was looking at the renovations of bringing this building and this compound up to a better standard. There's some issues that haven't been updated. This building was built in the 70s.
ADA compliance.
ADA compliance is probably lacking. Oh, I know it's lacking. So we're looking at that option. We already kind of priced out renovating this, but we're also in talks with the authority. We had a meeting, the authority called a meeting and wanted to go over some options. And we're getting a quote to possibly go forward with a new building at the well site. Again, it's going to be a cost analysis between if this renovation is going to cost $1 million or $1.5 million, let's figure. And if we throw $1.5 million and the authority throws $1.5 million out of our bond money to build a new building, it just makes sense to build a new building. Renovations are very costly. So that's what the $50,000 is to get preliminary plans pulled together, budgets, and so we could sit down and compare real numbers here. So that's kind of what this is very preliminary with. These were, it was intended to do the building renovations, and we were going to go full forward with that, doing this renovation here. And the authority, the new manager approached us about doing a partnership with maybe building a new building. So we're looking at that, considering it. And like I said, it depends on what the numbers come back at, and that's where we're going. So.
And the authority cannot contribute to the renovation of this building because we own it and the Municipal Authorities Act does not allow it.
Correct. So this is essentially their project. They would be taking this on, we would just be funding our portion of it. So
what would happen to this building if the rebuilding was done?
We would keep it. The road crew, so again, this is all preliminary talking too, is the road crew would still stay here. We changed the shop. In fact, we got, it's not on the agenda today. Oh, okay. Yeah, we got a new quote for the shop. This is all through a Sourcewell contract, so which helps municipalities and governments, for those that don't know. They came back for a full steel building. This is construction and everything minus the electrical and concrete. So we're basically looking at building a garage over there to store all of our equipment in. It's 140, I don't think it's on here. 140, well, with the lean-to it's wider. So 140 by 104, I think, is the dimension of it. And that will allow us to get all of our vehicles, all of our equipment, everything enclosed and out of the weather. And that would replace the building that we tore down where the salt shed is. So that quote came in at $644,000. What we were planning on was trying to keep our shop under $1 million or thereabouts. And I was surprised when the steel building came in at that quote, because we got a kit of a pole barn for $248,000, and that was just the pole barn. That was just the kit. That wasn't erection. That wasn't concrete. Nothing. So, so again, we're trying to stretch this as far as we can go with it, and if we can keep this, turn that into keep the garage base here with the lift and all that, so that, or with the maintenance shop down there, and then we can renovate the space here for the road crew, a bigger space. And then it would be ideal if we could lease this half of the building out to maybe, an engineering firm or something like that. We'd be able to have an office space, and it would be generating revenue for the township. So
this would save us from having to put bathrooms,
correct.
Locker room over there. Plumbing, would we need plumbing over there?
No, we're not doing any plumbing across the street. It would have electric, and we would like to tie into the natural gas line to run heat, to have heat in the building. But that would mostly, we eliminated having a garage bay over, like a lift bay, maintenance shop, and a facility for the road crew, because we're gonna keep them in here. So that is actually pretty big, because we don't have to do plumbing or anything that has to cross the street. So that's kind of the preliminary concept right now. Like I said, it's very, very preliminary. I can tell you though that I think we're beyond preliminary at this point. It is the shop. The shop is definitely getting built. So that's what this is with the clear span. So does that answer your question then, Charlie?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, I appreciate that.
Yep, no. Anything else? So
One point to that,
Mhm.
since you're putting no plumbing in over there, since it's a shop, would there not be a requirement for at least some type of toiletry for ADA access?
not over there because it's so that's why we cost wise, that's why we decided to just make that solely a garage space over there. Like, and we're not even having a maintenance bay over there, because then you got to run. We are going to have to exhaust it anyway for car fumes, vehicle fumes, and stuff like that.
Exhaust,
Right, but the amount of turnover of air quality is lesser of a requirement because we don't have an occupied space over there. Like, there's no break room or anything like that. So there's a lot of requirements that are lessened by keeping that solely as a garage warehouse storage space for us. So that's why we looked at, well, this is already heated and air conditioned, all works. We're not going to get rid of it anyway. So let's look at what we can do with this building. So
So basically, there's considered no occupancy, it's a shop area.
that's correct. Yep.
For vehicles.
Yep. So basically, this room we're sitting in here and that half here is what we're also considering possibly leasing out to, or a potential renter for, A, we don't need it. B, it'll generate an income for the community, so it'll offset some of our costs. So, and the idea is, I don't know what, we haven't really discussed it further, but we also have a storage building in Moldtown right now that we store the leaf backs and stuff like that. It'd be nice to have the plan is to have everything here. So we'll have a building that is empty. So we have to figure out what we want to do with that too. We probably will just sell it. There's no need for it. It's not even actually in Maple Creek. Oh, it's right on the line. I was gonna say it's right at the edge there. So
Well, currently, the authority pays us rent
correct.
because we own the building. If this comes to fruition and we're putting in, a serious amount of cash,
Right. We go half.
we would not be paying rent to them.
That would be my assumption.
Right.
Okay.
Now, you said you would be getting rid of this and that, what would you be doing for a meeting room area?
It'll all be in the new building. Everything will be in the new. So all the
New building,
administrative
The
stuff
wells.
would be over by the wells. Yeah.
Next
No,
to
this
the red
is two.
church.
These are two projects. The shop is one project, and this compound here would essentially be road crew compound. And then the authority wanted to partner with us and put a building over at the well site. That was, I guess, talked years ago,
Yeah.
and they kind of dug it out of the archives. And
so that building built down the road is considered the new meeting area then?
Not the one that's
that's
now.
not that one. That's just
That's
the well
strictly
house.
for your well.
That's just the well house. Yeah, this would be
It should be a
building.
new building.
And that 50,000 is to study that, come up with plans and
Well, it's feasible.
correct, yeah. So we basically said we want to keep it in this dollar range because that's what we're willing to spend. So SD has quite a project to figure out.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
If you do get that new building and you decided to lease this, don't you have to renovate this to lease it? So it meets the code?
So they have their own kitchen and restroom facility over there. So we'll have to probably do something to it. Yeah, but it's still a lot less what we're looking to do for this whole
Okay.
I did the plans for it, right? I laid this whole thing out and set it to SDE, and we were not that far off because Tom also did a set, and they were actually kind of comically very similar in idea.
That's scary.
but like this, for instance, this meeting room was flipped 90 degrees this way. We renovated, gave them more space, gave us blew out walls into the garage. It was very intrusive to this building, and that's kind of what made us go, maybe we should just look at a new building. So, because we're trying to make the meeting room, we want to get more space. This is tight. Sometimes we have bigger meetings and we want to have more room to accommodate people. And same thing with the authority. They want to have that ability also. So, and one of the other topics that is also figured in with this, and already actually, it's no secret, so they want to put a bay for the fire company. So that was also, I think that was promised when the land was donated. So part of that new building would be a garage space that they could put an apparatus in there and have an area that they can be at on this side of the railroad tracks. So there's a lot of moving parts and pieces to it, and like I said, SD's got a pretty good pile on their plate right now. So, all right,
So we need the motion?
yes. So do I have a motion to authorize? I don't know if it's up to, but I guess not exceeding $50,000 for engineering and design on municipal building changes.
I'll make that motion.
I will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Now to Chestnut Street drainage, that's where the plate is still covering the portion of the street where the July 2023 storm event blew out that road. So we preliminarily met with Keith, Grant, and myself just to come up with some options of what to do. I have that little sketch in your packets. We discussed repiping it to Route 73
Down the street.
and then down the portion of 73 on the same side of the shoulder and tying into where the creek actually crosses 73. HOPs aren't cheap. They're just, and the pipe sizes are about a 12-inch, we're guessing, very, very small.
Yeah.
We're looking at a fairly large side because it does take a pretty big drainage area from up at the mountain. So this is where the reservoir that's going to be breached trickles down to the fire company's reservoir where the rodeo, and then trickles down and crosses under the railroad, and then it comes out to Chestnut Street. So very preliminary, we're just looking at the options and some cost estimates we think, but between permitting, going into the HOP route, it's going to be pretty expensive. So.
I had an idea, and I have thrown it out already. Might be unpopular, I don't know, about shutting the road down altogether,
I like that
and barricading it. I don't think there was an opposition to it from EMS and fire. I don't think. I didn't hear anything.
We haven't formally put anything together.
Correct. I think
It would be two cul-de-sacs, correct?
I'm just dead ended.
The section from 73 to a small cul-de-sac, and then the section.
I guess we could do that, a small cul-de-sac in the back, 'cause we do that area on that side towards the tracks there, I guess, yeah, we can do it there, but no, I think the other side, you just continue Chestnut right down to the park, barricade it, and then I get rid of it all together and slope it back.
So this was not closing what the options we were looking at, we were coming up with. Yeah, it's not gonna be pretty. So if you want, we'll look at the closing options for you. And then those two options, we can put together the prices.
Would it be worthwhile looking into putting like, if we were to go that route, put like flow reducers, like stream, or like, not barriers, but they have the conservation district have a name for that. I can't
Energy
remember.
dissipator,
Yeah, that'd be it.
that's scary too.
I know. I know.
Us engineers.
Hey, they're pushing that.
Yes, and it does make sense. You reduce the flow, velocity, slope, erosion down and everything else. The only place you could really do it is on the fire company property. Because it's really tight when it comes under the railroad, you really have, there's not much room between the railroad and the Chestnut Road. We might have 30 feet.
Yeah.
That.
So that's a leased property for us. We have to deal with the relief to get some permissions there.
From the fire company. So it's possible to do something there. Diane had a great idea, and we're looking into that to possibly do, we call it like a stilling basin where it's just the velocity comes into a pool and it just, and then you sort of meter the outflow.
Right.
And dissipate the energy. Sometimes you can do a waterfall and then when it ends and the water flows, it's really slowed down significantly. So that would be, I'll say, an alternate to both options in reality. Anyway, so.
Me personally, again, I don't know we're gonna make any, we're not looking at any
This is
motion.
just, I'm letting you
Yeah.
know, here's the update, we did our job, we scheduled it,
Yeah.
We were asked to look at it. This is our first,
I said, as long,
as Keith and I
I
said, our first glance at it.
feel as long as EMS and fire don't necessarily have a problem with it, is it gonna inconvenience some? Maybe, possibly. I mean, it's a cutoff from Park Road. When the light turns red, people cut through there and race around and try to beat it, and then pull out on the 73. Whether some residents are gonna get irritated because they gotta go down to Park every time, yeah, probably, but.
You know, you're looking at your township budget, where do you want to spend
Well,
your money? And so
that's it.
you have to think of the overall safety of the municipality, and also, you know, the new buildings and the things, and your public works and.
And that's a lot,
And that's a lot of money.
it's a lot of old concrete in there too.
Is there a ballpark estimate of the cost of doing that work?
We just said that we just had taken our first glance at
You
it.
don't make a ballpark number.
We just took our first
Yeah.
glance at it.
Yeah.
So you have at the dead end, energy dissipator. And PennDOT route, so it's really like 3 things when it comes to. Okay, so that's why I just wanted-
Itemize it, because maybe we don't want to do their job. Whatever works.
Could you break it down?
Absolutely,
Itemize everything.
I will, I will.
Customers ask me. You're buying a system.
But again, yeah, being responsive, we just wanted to start looking into that for you.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So it's just a pure update. All right, moving on, this is for, this grant application is the walnut tree since the watershed was denied, right? So this is just, we flipped the grant over into the PA small water and sewer grant, and storm sewer and flooding projects are qualified projects. So Diane was gonna do the resolution and I did the funding commitment letter, so you have 2 pieces of paperwork to authorize as part of the motion for the submission to the PA Small Water and Sewer, which is due April 30th.
The resolution number will be 16-2025.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to adopt grant resolution 16-2025 for the, do I need the small water and sewer program grant?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then the funding commitment letter just supports that resolution, so I don't think there needs to be a separate vote. Correct.
Correct.
And Chris kept our letter
You did.
helping us.
I know, I got
Did we
that.
have previous help from elected officials with the grant that was denied?
I did not do that. Evan Pellegrino helped you with that
I
grant.
don't know that we.
That was last minute. That
Yeah,
one
we
was
had
just.
county support, but I don't think we went any higher than the county.
Yeah, that was less than a week response. That letter went out and they flipped it. So, I'm very pleased with the office. It turned
Yeah.
right around.
Yep.
So that's gonna carry good weight. All right, so that's that. Last on my agenda is just the update for the Melrose Basin inspection. I would request we table it again. There's been no activity.
I think Logan's here. You wanna talk about that?
Yeah, if I can make a comment and ask a
And
question.
you are,
So Logan drove 101 Lydia Lane in Melrose Place. It's nothing new that that pond has been severely under-maintained. I think when you look back, December 17th of 2023 and January 10th of 2024 were the last 2 bigger storms that we had. Since then, those ponds have not been touched. The drains are nearly entirely clogged. Rocks are washed out, you all know. I applaud the township for actually, going out and inspecting it and seeing that there's an ongoing issue, which I think has been the case for at least 4 years. But it's a concern. My property, unfortunately, is on the other side, so anytime the water does flow, I'm at risk of getting flooded, which has happened on 3 occasions, my basement twice. My concern continues to be the pond is under-maintained, so it clogs up quickly. It's flooded Anna each time on those 2 storms. I've actually benefited from Anna flooding so that the water didn't quite make it to my property. It did crest, it went to the very top. I am still convinced that the issue is the runoff coming upstream. If that were wide open, the water would flow smoother, no doubt. But I truly believe all the documentation that I have and what I've witnessed over 5 years, there is too much water coming into Melrose, which is causing a problem. So, energy dissipator, for the fourth time tonight. I don't know what can be done. I don't have that. All I can say is, I've been told the inlet was widened over time at some point underneath the railroad tracks, but I think everyone's witness to it, especially the July storm, which was an anomaly, I get. And we had another one of those storms a year before that. It doesn't take much to completely wipe out that subdivision, regardless of whether that pond is functioning properly or not. I truly don't think it's designed to be able to withstand the amount of water coming in. So I guess the question I have is, what other options do we have? There's a parcel of land that's owned by Polino, I believe, or a family member out front in Melrose that's for sale. Obviously, that makes for an attractive option to convert into a detention basin. Is there anything upstream that could be done? My fear is, regardless if the pond's cleaned out, which it needs to be, there's dead trees, there's so much going on there that's just not maintained. There still is a problem with too much water runoff coming into Melrose Place.
I'll give you a quick history of what Tom and I had accomplished prior to COVID. So we held a meeting with PennDOT, and we tried to get the railroad there, and they did not come. PennDOT's answer to us was, well, this isn't our responsibility, Park Road. It's the railroad's, or if it's yours, it's because you've developed above the railroad track and your subdivisions are discharging too much water. Well, there's no subdivisions that discharge water into that pipe. So that was just the easy way for them to end the meeting. I know Tom went out with Keith and looked at putting in detention right above the railroad, and it's too flat.
I was up there. Keith and I went up there in winter time. Yeah. Oh, I spent a lot of time up there. I'm trudging through the woods up there on the other side of the railroad tracks. So there's, I don't know that pipe on the railroad tracks was increased or moved. It's not, what is it, maybe a 36 or 48 inch pipe, but it's one pipe. There's a second pipe that's up the tracks a little bit farther, so it would be like towards Christina's, I guess. It does absolutely nothing up there because you go on the other side of railroad tracks, grade goes uphill. So that July 9th storm, I talked to those residents that would own that land up in the back there. Essentially carved out a pond up there. Like it really kind of wallowed out along the tracks. So much so that they actually had Norfolk Southern come out and say, hey, take a look at this because of your ballast and stuff about that washing out and making that unstable in there. They're not concerned, the railroad company, they're Norfolk Southern. So, but those folks there, what happened was that pipe on July 9th couldn't handle the amount of water coming off the mountain, period. It wasn't even the development, because really the developments are a little bit over farther. And you can actually walk up through the woods and see ruts coming through. There's just so much underground springs up on that hill. The amount of water backed up and actually got to their shed, which is, when I stood down the bottom and was up top, I don't know, Keith, 20 feet maybe?
Yeah.
At least, in grade change. And that was, she said it actually got into their shed, the water. So seeing that put a lot of it into perspective. Now, there is that other development that is looking at, I haven't heard anything on that lately. Crossings, yeah. And that was one of the things that we mentioned was, hey, whatever you're gonna go doing over here, you better stop it here or slow it down a lot before it gets down there, because it all will go downhill, as you know, work its way down into the creek. That's just the way it's gonna work. So they have put a pretty good emphasis on making sure that their pond is large enough to accommodate storing of water and a limited release on it. So that's separate. I know that's kind of a concern for everybody, but I think that will slow down a lot of that field runoff, at least on that side.
Is Crossroads a new subdivision?
Crossing. Yeah, okay.
The pond was put in when Corrado did the top 10 lots.
Yeah, there is a pond, but they're gonna make it bigger. I remember looking at the drawings when was it what's the name of the company?
C2C.
C2C. Yeah, when they were here, and look, I specifically asked and looked at those plans, because obviously I've been in touch with you and several of your neighbors. And so yeah, that's a concern. Let's keep this water up here and limited release it on the way out. But again, that portion currently kind of goes into the fields and works its way over. It's not a concentrated flow or anything like that, but the amount of ruts coming through the woods, I was shocked. I mean, there was homes in there from 80s, 70s, 80s, something like that. So yeah, I was kind of shocked to see it actually rutted out the woods.
And I think the debris become a major, the debris coming from upstream through the 48.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no
pretty
doubt.
clean. It's pretty clean up there now. I mean, there are older folks that live up there, so it's tough for them to walk down. In fact, they were like, "Yeah, we can't get down there, so we'll take a look at it." So we went down, but yeah, there's a lot of sticks and stuff like that. But I would say it was fairly clean at that section. Now, there's a long run of pipe that comes under 73 and runs all the way down to the storm drains that are next to the dentist office. And I think that gets filled with sticks and debris. That's a long run though, from Park Road, as I said, from Park Road to town. That's a pretty long run. But we are looking into options with them, with